Anytime anything happens in the state of Ohio, I get all excited because I get to reconnect with one of my favorite people in the cannabis industry. His name's Tim Johnson. He's a retired law enforcement officer, trainer, supporter, the whole nine yards. And he's also a pro cannabis lobbyist in the state of Ohio. Tim, good to talk with you again. And always there's something going on in Ohio, isn't there?
Yeah, Jimmy, as always with you, it's a good pleasure to see you and speak with you and share my viewpoints of what I hear and see at the State House and so forth. So it's great to be here today.
And Governor DeWine now is using his executive power to put a temporary restraining order on sales of all THC infused products and telling his legislature to come up with some regulations. Is that pretty much what the story is here? And are you confident that they're going to be able to do this?
Yeah, and he's been pushing, DeWine's been pushing for this, for a few years. I think what actually made him brave enough to push forward with it was the fact that September 30th, when the Farm Bill Act extension expired, which we expected to be signed and extended again. But I think he figured, okay, I can go ahead and do this now. But he did recognize the Farm Bill Act and give respect to the legitimate hemp license holder, or the legitimate hemp retailers permission to continue to operate under that farm bill if they were compliant with it, minus what he instituted here. His whole thing, it's all propaganda about child safety. And politicians use that, and I feel it's pretty sad that they have to use children, well, when they're creating a cannabis law or a hemp law, whatever. If we want to talk about a state of emergency, melatonin is on the street right now as the new narcotic for adolescents, and it's killing kids. It's not just putting them in an ER; it's actually killing them. And you can buy the gummies. Anybody can walk into most health stores, grocery stores, and so forth, and buy melatonin gummies. You take too many of them, it suppresses your respiratory system, is my understanding. Texas has an incident where some children died there. There's been some on the East Coast. I have, in the last 5 years, introduced a melatonin bill to regulate it in Ohio. And literally, I've talked to every legislative doctor we have. One of them or a couple of them were pediatricians, and I'm trying to tell them, hey, here's what's going on. And they just keep putting it on their table, but then all of a sudden there's an emergency executive order, health department, everything over what they call intoxicating hemp. And the reality of it is in Ohio, we see more children going to the ERs from products they've got from the legal industry than we have from what they call the gas station sushi. The intoxicating hemp products. So I've got to throw the red flag, the BS on, this is for the children. No, it's not. It's a political move. We know you're politically pandering for your party because the elections are coming up here. We understand what's happening. We also understand, yeah, there's some of the license holders throwing money in your bank account or whatever, however that works. But the realistic thing is, as far as the intoxicating hemp, the EO, the executive order, um, I think it's been blown out of proportion. It's really not to the point where all hemp in Ohio is banned. That hasn't happened. When they refer to intoxicating hemp, and it says it in a thing, it is where you have extracted or adulterated a hemp product. And that's the problem. I have a problem with that as well. If I get, if I'm going to buy something, I don't care where it's from a dispensary or from a gas station, I want to know what I'm getting and I want it to be a safe product. I don't want back in the 2011, 12, whatever, the K2 stuff, people were buying these little things at the gas stations and they created House Bill 64 in 2011. Look that up sometime. Wait to be surprised what that says. But it's to control these unknown chemicals that we're putting on hemp products, be it flour primarily. It's really not adulterating. Flour is the stuff that we're seeing sold in Ohio is over 0.3%. So that falls now into the cannabis realm. And I can verify that because last Monday, a law firm that I consult with as a criminal subject or drug policy subject matter reform specialist, we had our two clients were convicted of hemp. Both received a felony five. And that was because the hemp went from 0.3% to 0.5% as per BCI's test. But that's the kind of stuff that we're seeing happen. And that's what we got to address and stop from happening. But the intention of the EO is to say that If you have products, flower products that are over 0.3%, get them off your shelves, get rid of them. If you have anything that is any other hemp products that are adulterated or to the point where they're considered intoxicating, meaning that you have added an unknown chemical or you've just created a synthetic cannabinoid and added it to the product. Get rid of them. So that's very basic and simple. If you're compliant, if you have a hemp store right now, excluding gas stations, mini marts, and head shops, because they can't control it like a standalone brick and mortar, they can control the door, and it's 21 or over to get in. You got safe packaging, a full profile on the packaging, what the product is, age requirements, and all of this, and you're compliant with point 0.3 or less, and you're not adulterating products, synthesizing them, and so forth. Your store, your retail store is good to go.
Yeah.
Um, Other than clean off your windows. Please clean off your windows. You're not a dispensary. You're not technically selling what you think is, you know, dispensary marijuana and all that stuff. And that's what brought a lot of attention was that type of marketing that they use. But
Isn't
yeah, that's the EO is my interpretation.
and isn't he trying to get all hemp products inside licensed cannabis dispensaries? Isn't that's where he'd like them to be sold and get them out of the gas stations and the convenience stores? Is that and smoke shops? Is that right or not?
That's what Senate Bill 86 tried to do. Actually, Senate Bill 326 last fall tried to do it. We killed it. Senate Bill 86, first part of this year, still active in the House Judiciary Committee. That is the purpose of it. It's not going to happen in
Right.
Ohio. The legislators won't let it happen. It makes no sense. Are the license holders pushing for it? Some of them are. Some of them are pushing against it.
Right.
Nobody wants to go into a dispensary and say, well, I'm going to buy 0.3% flour instead of 25% flour. They're not going to do it. The
No,
purpose,
in fact, most of the people that go in to buy look at the biggest percentage of THC in the product and get
yeah,
that, which again kind of goes to the ignorance of the consumers that they're not educating themselves. It isn't about the percentage of THC; it's about the terpene profile and all the different things that impact what the THC and the other cannabinoids do
yeah.
inside this living plant, right?
Right. Yeah. People want to buy, cannabis when they go in a dispensary. When you
Right.
go into the hemp retail store, you're there to buy hemp. And the difference of it is, and I think this in the executive order could fall back on them legally, when they say we ban THCA for 90 days or 6 months, we ban Delta 8. Well, believe it or not, some of these license holders in Ohio don't realize that they're creating THCA, they're selling it, and they also have Delta 8 in their plants. It may be very minuscule, but it's there. They don't, most of them themselves, with all their, whatever they have, as far as staff and knowledge and money and so forth, didn't realize that, well, technically a good attorney is going to kind of blow this out of the state here, going to take it, and you guys might be shutting your doors too for a while until the state decides what they're going to do. Well, let's hope that don't happen. Let's hope they get it worked out. The purpose of having a hemp retail store is, let's face it, and the cannabis cultivators, they can't produce what hemp produces as far as, full spectrum cannabinoids, all of them and so forth, higher levels of them. They focus more on THC. Sure, they're starting to get some CBDs, CBNs, and so forth. We're starting to see some of that CBG, et cetera, and so forth. But over here in hemp, the hemp plant produces a higher volumes, a higher yields of the CB, all the other cannabinoids, you can clear up through the CBS and some of the new ones and so forth, and the THCVAs and all of that. So the point, I guess, is allow me to go into a hemp retail store and purchase what I want. That's you've regulated and so forth, the state, and then let me go into a dispensary and purchase what I want. Or the same plant they are, but they're producing different cannabinoids. Yeah, in I guess a layman's term to say, I can get different ones in this store than I can get in this store. But I don't see Ohio ever coming to a point where they put all of it together in one store. To me, it'd be kind of foolish. You're gonna, first off, it's a big business impact on Ohio to have to close down about 1,500 retail hemp stores right now that are returning twice the amount of tax dollars to the state than the cannabis program is. So what we just, as I said, we just need to clean up the gas stations, the mini marts and so forth. And it needs to be a brick and mortar hemp retail store, 21 and over. Your package has a full profile, full warnings. You're under the 0.3%. the simple guidelines. It's not that difficult. But I was asked, well, how do we know the difference, Tim? I go, well, on a simple, it's kind of simple to me. On a dispensary, it's you got a green sticker on there that says DCC, Division of Cannabis Control. Let's take that same sticker and put it on the hemp store, the door, but let's make it orange. And of course, that was some brilliant. I guess you had to have a PhD to think of that. I don't know, but so
You almost need a degree in organic chemistry just to understand the alphabet soup that it makes up the minor
yeah,
cannabinoids in this plant. And we're still learning about new cannabinoids. They continue to discover new cannabinoids in this
exactly.
because they're finally looking at it the way it should have been looked at 100 years ago. But let's
Sure.
not. We can't revise history, can we, Tim Johnson? It's just impossible to do.
Yeah.
But controlling and regulating, keeping it out of the hands of under 21-year-olds, understanding what's in each package, making sure that the packages do not attract kids or people that aren't old enough or mature enough to recognize that this is something you need to learn about before you consume it responsibly. This is
Yeah.
still the biggest issue. And I still maintain not allowing public service announcements that have anything to do that are positive messaging about this plant, okay, are still banned. And that's
Right.
what made that video that President Trump put out on Truth Social a couple of weeks ago so impactful to me because I looked at it and said, oh my God, this is the best public service announcement that is pro cannabis that I've seen in the 10
Right.
years that I've been in this industry right now.
Yeah, I actually last week in one of the bills I introduced again included, the PSAs, which we've asked for PSAs since 2015, and it's like, they don't want Ohio people to know that there's a cannabis industry here.
Right.
I just kind of looked. I said, "You got to be kidding me!
Well, what
This
they
is
don't
not
know, what
educational awareness here. Let us tell something. Put
they'd
something up."
rather ban it.
Hmm.
That's how they want to govern it. No, we're just going to ban it rather than govern it and regulate it.
Yeah, exactly. But
Easy
yeah,
way out, Tim. Easy way out. That's what they're
they
doing.
they find the ways, believe me. So I try to close the door whenever I can.
There you go. Hey, Tim Johnson, always a pleasure talking with you at any time. First of all, I learned something about melatonin from you today. And I thank you for that because it is one of the things whenever I look at the ingredients, when I go in to buy my nighttime gummies that have CBD, CBN, and THC 1 to 1 to 1 in it, because that is a product I use to help me sleep. And I got 6.5 straight hours last night, I might add. Okay. And if it doesn't have melatonin, I'll look at it. If it has, not interested,
Thank
don't
you.
want it. And
Thank you.
now I can reinforce that with your knowledge and your information. So I thank you for that, sir.
Yeah, there have been a couple of cultivators in Ohio, processors that actually they actually did infuse some of their products with melatonin and some of them with caffeine. And my whole thought, I'm glad that the cannabis control came down on them and says, wait a minute, because I said, that's adulterating a product. I
Right.
don't want it adulterated. I want it as organic as I can get it. And so, anyways, we do have a rule in Ohio as far as now you can't adulterate the product with melatonin and say, yeah, this will help you sleep. And then here's some caffeine. This will help you keep you alert. If the product itself can't be pure and do that, then I'll find a better product.
That's right.
We
And
don't
also,
need, yeah, we
and,
don't
and-
need that infused.
right. And I also the THCA thing is something that continues to even confuse me because when I go into a licensed dispensary and I look at the ingredients and I
Hmm.
see a THCA percentage in it, I'm like, that's not, it's THC. And then when you ignite it, it becomes THC. I mean, it's still a little confusing, even to those who think they know what they're doing.
Yeah,
But as long as it says Delta 9 THCA, it's a natural product, correct?
that's acidic, is my understanding. Now, I'm not a scientist, but
Okay,
as many people that I work with and so forth, and all that I hear, THCA is the acidic form of, the THC, and as soon as you put fire to that THCA, it becomes THC.
right,
That's how I understand it. That's my scientific review of it. But yeah, and I think it's always been there, but no state has ever recognized that as one of the comp or one of the cannabinoids
right,
in the product. It's always just been straight THC,
right.
CBD. That's what we've always focused. Well, evidently somebody somewhere that knows enough about cannabis was able to get legislatures to understand and start implementing that as far as when you put the profile on the package. We want all those, it's that cannabinoid. We want all those cannabinoids. I want to know what all of them are.
Absolutely. And they should be giving out primers on organic chemistry because for those of us who their brains hurt enough whenever they read the ingredients because, I just, is it natural or not natural? I mean, how
Right.
about we have to have some kind, again, public service announcements. We have to have some kind of education to the public about what these products are, how they work, and and then we could get into the old, well, what works for you may not work for me because
Exactly.
everybody has a different endocannabinoid system. And isn't it nice that that video enlightened the masses to what the endocannabinoid system did? In fact, the graphics in that video were the best explanation of it that I've seen. And of course, it still took them 3 minutes. And of course, they had to wave the flag about that it was the president's initiative that got the Farm Bill of 2018 passed. But I love when that happens, and then it's like, yeah, but he opened up a Pandora's box with no regulations. He put the FDA, come up with some regulations, FDA, and they're still waiting 8 years later, 7, 8 years later, to even have a regulation. I mean, the laziness of humanity, the people that don't want to work, it really,
Hmm.
really, but that's human behavior, Tim. I
Yes, very
understand that. I
true.
know you understand it too. But anyway, as always, I love chit-chatting with you, and you and I could talk for hours. We have actually in the past. So please, I'm not going to take you out of my Rolodex, that's for sure. Thank you so much for joining us again on a special report of 1v1 on Cannabis Coast to Coast News.